Good Wednesday morning, everybody. It is morning devotional time. And our devotional title this morning is Our Body is God's Temple. And our devotional verse is 1 Corinthians chapter 6, verses 19 and 20. Or do you not know that your body is a temple of the Holy Spirit within you, whom you have from God? You are not your own, for you were bought with a price. So glorify God in your body. You know, if we were inclined, this would be a good opportunity just to have us a grand argument. Pick your stand and let's just have at it. You know, maybe you're convinced that tattoos are the mark of the devil, or smoking, or drinking alcohol. Maybe you believe coffee drinking is a mortal sin, or overeating. There are many things that people consider to be harmful to the human body, and therefore to be a defilement of the temple of God, which is our bodies. You know, just this morning I saw a meme and it had a big gorilla on a bicycle labeled processed foods chasing a screaming little girl labeled my body is a temple. You know, I'm not really sure what the point was, but I think the meme creator was trying to make a case that processed foods are a defilement of the temple of God, which is our bodies. In other words, to eat processed foods is a sin. You know, I hope that readers and listeners can see and hear the point here without me actually having to make the point. The point is that sometimes we miss the point. Now look, don't misunderstand anything that I'm saying here. Everything we do and every action we take should honor God and be helpful to the temple of God, which is our bodies. I'm not saying that we can just destroy our bodies and please God. I am saying that many things are between God and us and must be driven by the conscience that He gave us. You know, I'm diabetic and processed foods are not my friend. If I eat them constantly, it hurts my body. Is it sin? Maybe, maybe not. You know, our passage is, however, clear about one category of sin, and that's sexual sin. Paul writes to the Corinthians that any sexual activity outside the bounds of marriage is sin against one's own body, and a defilement of the temple of God, which is our bodies. Friends, that is any sexual activity outside of marriage. You know, we cannot be in the business of condemning one sexual activity because we find it abhorrent and then ignoring the one taking place in our own homes. But that's enough of that particular rabbit trail. The real destination of our devotional today is the why, or the reasons. This is the point. You know, Jesus gets to dictate what we do with our bodies. He gets this right because we are His, literally. Jesus owns us because He bought us with a price, and that price was His own life. My friends, what are you doing with God's temple today? Is the way you treat yourself honoring to God? Have a blessed day in the Lord, my friends.